Hi, I'm Paula Driesen, a volunteer preserve steward here at Arcadia Dunes, the C.S. Mott Nature Preserve. Arcadia Dunes is one of over 30 nature preserves owned and managed by the Grand Traverse Regional Land Conservancy. All of those preserves could not be managed without the help of a lot of volunteer colleagues to be the eyes and ears of the Conservancy on the ground and to help with some small maintenance. This video will help you conduct monitoring visits. I'm going to talk about what to prepare for before your visit, what to look for while you're here, and how to report what you found. Your work as a preserve steward is key to offering a welcoming and safe experience for visitors of all ages and abilities. If you're visiting the preserve alone, let somebody know where you're going and about when you're going to return. Carry your cell phone, but know that there's not always service in all the areas of the different preserves. If you're doing chainsaw work, you must have completed a chainsaw safety course, and you should not work alone. If you're allergic to bees, remember to bring your EpiPen. You might consider bringing a first aid kit. Most volunteers stay out of the woods during firearm deer season. During small game season, turkey season, waterfowl hunting season, we usually wear bright clothes, especially if you're out at dusk or dawn. One more safety consideration is you might not want to hike in the woods on a really gusty, windy day. There's a lot of dead standing ash trees out here and you don't want to have one fall on you. Before I visit the preserve, I gather a couple bags. I have a little fanny pack that I use for every visit, and I've laid out what I usually carry, give you some ideas. I always bring a note paper and pencil or pen, my phone, which is my camera. If I know I'm going to be going off trail, or I think I might be, I'll bring my compass because my iPhone battery might fail. PPE if needed, a trash bag if you find any trash, a glove if you find something really disgusting to pick up and put in the trash. I bring poison ivy wipes. I'm often pulling garlic mustard. My name badge. And today I have my Conservancy logo hat and shirt. Just a tip, if you wear your name badge on the trail and there's a lot of visitors, you'll be stopped and asked lots of questions. So if you're on a mission and you just want to get your work done, probably don't wear a badge that day. If you're in the mood to talk to people and answer questions, put a badge on and people will ask you questions. The pack I use I like because it has a lanyard for my keys, so I'm not going to lose my keys. Most of the time I'm out here less than 2 hours. I don't need to carry water or food, but I have a different pack if I plan to do a long hike when I want to carry water and food. If I think I'm going to want to do some trail trimming on my hike, I have a little backpack for my gloves, loppers, folding saw, and pruning shears. When you first arrive at the preserve, check out the sign at the road. Is it visible from both directions? This one on the northbound side is obscured by that sumac and this overhanging oak tree. I'll make a note to myself to take out that sumac, but this oak will probably have to wait till late fall or early spring because oaks shouldn't be cut in the middle of summer. Another thing I do on all my visits is walk the perimeter of the parking lot. There's always trash to pick up around the parking lot, so I use my bags that I bring from home, make a tour in front of all the cars and pick up trash. This parking lot here is used for an accessible trail, and the vans that carry motorized wheelchairs are low riding. They can't really have much unevenness of the surface, so a drive into a parking lot like this you want to have really smooth. Again, this isn't a problem, but a deeper pothole should be reported and repaired. To make the parking lots of preserves a little bit more welcoming, a new emphasis in the last year or two is on trimming up the parking lots with like a weed whip. Things like weeds growing out of the gravel. Any weeds growing up under the kiosk, around the boot brush station, this one needs to be trimmed. And on the inside edge of the split rail fence, this is an example of a parking lot that does need to be trimmed up. If your parking lot has porta potties, This one usually has them, but not right now. There's a few things you can check. Peek inside. Is it stocked with toilet paper? Are people putting trash in the tank? That's pretty common. And is it in need of a pump out? Those are the things to check. Another thing you can know when you're monitoring is count how many cars are in the parking lot when you arrive and when you leave, and the times. It's a good indication to staff to know how many visitors they're getting at their preserves. Remember to brush your boots before you enter the preserve, and when you come back out, it gets all the weed seeds off your shoes, and it's a good example to set for other visitors. One of the things you'll be looking for are signs. The kiosk signs, the wayfinding signs, and the informational signs. Are the signs in good condition? Are they faded? Are they obstructed by vegetation? This one here, I would probably do a little pruning there to make that a little bit more visible. This is an example of a wayfinding sign. Wayfinding signs and maps are important so that visitors in our preserves don't get lost. They include a map, a number, which is the location we're at currently on the map, and then directions to adjacent areas on the trail. And this one looks like it's up to date and in good shape. This is like a first generation wayfinding sign here at Arcadia Dunes. They were made in the shop by volunteers. They're getting a little bit worn out. I think they're still a little usable, but it might be a good idea to let staff know what the condition of these are, and they can decide when they have to be pulled out. Another wayfinding aid for hikers are trail blazes, or little painted stripes on the trees. It especially helps in the fall when the trail is covered with leaves, and in the winter when the trail is covered with snow. We like to repaint these about every 3 years or so. This section of trail, the blazes are getting a little chipped, a little faded, so it is about time for this section to be reblazed, and that would be something to note. To make the preserve a more welcoming place, we've started doing a little bit more trimming around the parking lots and also around benches. So on my report today, I would include that the next time I come out, I would do a little bit of trimming around this bench. There are several types of trails at the preserves. There's dirt hiking paths, mountain biking trails. The trail that we're on now is the Overlook Trail. It's a universally accessible trail here at Arcadia Dunes that can be used by people with strollers and wheelchairs and who have mobility issues. The main materials of these trails are a real finely crushed stone that's real firm. So for this surface, you're going to make sure there's no ruts and erosion caused by rainstorms, something like that. And then there's boardwalks. And this is a boardwalk that gets us some elevation change through forest without impacting the forest floor. So for boardwalks, we're going to be looking for things like loose boards, splinters, in areas where there's water. Is there water on the boards that make it slippery? When you're checking out signs, again, make sure they're sturdy and intact. This one's kind of dirty. It's under the trees, so it gets a lot of tree dirt. I'm gonna make a note to myself the next time I come. Either bring some mild dish detergent, window cleaner, even isopropyl alcohol, and a rag or paper towel, and I'll get this one cleaned up next time. Getting back to the theme of creating a welcoming environment for visitors, when I have a critical eye in this corner of the boardwalk, I see there's a lot of tree debris, little twigs, leaves, some tree debris on the bench. So I would make a note to myself next time I come, bring my whisk broom and my battery-operated leaf blower. If you don't have something like that, just make a note in your report that the boardwalk or the trail could use a blowing off of twigs and leaves. Well, this is new. Since I was here last time, we had some heavy rain a few nights ago, and there's a little hole here. So I'm going to make a note of that. That's something that probably staff will take care of. Maybe it's small enough that a volunteer can take care of, but definitely on these universally accessible trails, we want a nice flat surface, so we'll want to take care of that hole. Another thing to check is railings and fences, making sure they're intact. This one here has a problem that the cable broke loose at this end, so I'm going to put that in my report, and a staff member can come out and fix it. But that's the type of things they're looking for in a report. A special concern we have here at the Overlook Trail is erosion, especially because of the high Lake Michigan levels. We especially this year want to keep people off the steep dune face going down to the lake so it doesn't erode the dune face further. So we installed these signs to let people know that it's important that they stay off the dune face. So one thing I do is I look over the edge to look for footprints, and so far it looks like the signs are working and people are understanding that we want them to stay off the dune face. Now we're on an example of a dirt trail that's used for hiking. And when people are hiking down the trail, we want to have a cleared corridor about yay wide. On the mountain bike trails, about yay tall. Or if you think of a father with a kid in a backpack, about yay tall. So next time out, I would want to do some trimming here to open up the trail corridor a little bit. One of the important things to look for when you're monitoring trails is trees over the trail. Couldn't find any trees over the trail today to show you, but here's one that's already been cleared, and I can use it to describe the information you need to report. When this tree had originally fallen over, what's important to somebody who's going to come back and cut the tree is the diameter of the tree and the location. So I would have estimated the diameter, knowing my phone is about 5 inches, it would have been about a 10 to 13 inch diameter tree, and I would give the location relative to what map posts were between. Also, photos are good, so you can take a picture of a tree down and put that with your report. The dirt trails are always going to have some roots and rocks sticking out, but look out for excessive roots that are tripping hazards, especially the ones that are just little pokers that poke up that would trip people. We can get out and chop out some of the real worst tripping hazards. Something else to look for on the dirt trails. One of the things to look for and to report is vandalism, both vandalism to natural things in the preserve and to structures and man-made things. This is an example. It hadn't been disturbed last year, but something new this year. Bark has been stripped and people are carving initials. I don't know what would be done about it, but it's something I would include in my report. Another common type of vandalism is carving initials into wooden structures at the preserves, and we have had a problem like here at the Overlook Trail. The shallow carvings can be sanded out. I'm not sure what staff will want to do with the deeper ones, but I know sometimes they talk about flipping boards. So it's something to, when you see new graffiti like this and vandalism, it's something good to report. Some other things to report are natural events. Has there been any damage from flooding or windstorms? Has there been insect infestations like tentworm caterpillars or tree diseases that you observed? Did you find any dumps, any new dumping spots? Those are usually around roadsides. For details on more things to look for as you're monitoring your preserve, refer to your Preserve Steward Manual. If you see someone violating a preserve rule and you feel comfortable doing so, please point it out to them. But assume they didn't know the rule and just use it as an educational experience. If you're not comfortable, make a description of the person, maybe the vehicle and what they were doing. Depending on what they were doing, contact the Conservancy as soon as possible. After you visit the preserve, it's time to send in a report. Use the online reporting form to report your hours and what you saw and what you did. If there's something that needs to be taken care of right away and you're in a volunteer group or you know some sawyers, it's a good idea to send reports of trees over trail by email to your group or to your sawyers so those get attention quickly. Reporting time is important to the Conservancy because they can use your hours to secure grants that can be used towards future restoration or protection projects. As a volunteer, remember that you're an ambassador of the Conservancy to the visitors of the preserve, so please be helpful and friendly. The Grand Traverse Regional Land Conservancy hopes that you are enriched by the time that you spend in your adopted preserve. For more information, visit the Conservancy's website at gtrlc.org.